These few pages are actually about Rachel when she was younger, before she became a public defender. I remember the last time I made love with a man. His name was Michael Burnside, and I'd met him at a wild New Year's Eve party given by one of my classmates. I was 24, in my last semester of law school. Michael, who was 5 years older than me, was already a successful personal injury attorney in Denver and was looking to settle down. After just a few months of dating, I could tell he was a man with a plan. Work hard, make money, buy things, marry, have children, enjoy life, retire, buy more things, die. Sharing his life sounded like I'd spend it sitting next to him on a train speeding across a big flat state like Kansas, and at the end of the ride, I would be old, but not in the least amazed. On the other hand, he was handsome in a blonde god kind of way, and surprisingly sweet, which I valued. He also had the most beautiful white teeth I've ever seen. Although Michael owned a house in Denver, we spent most of our nights in my tiny studio apartment right off Broadway, within trotting distance of the law school. The last time we made love was in May 1974. It was 6 in the morning, and bright sunlight was already pouring in through the one east-facing window in the apartment. We could hear the first batch of traffic rumbling up Broadway, the early birds getting their worms. After Michael had been on top for a while, I flipped us over so that I could sit up and control the amount of penetration. We were both sweating. I remember gazing down and admiring the muscles in his chest, his biceps, the easy way he held me above him, his beautiful white teeth. I remember checking my alarm clock to make sure I'd have enough time to shower before my 8 o'clock seminar. And then I remember looking down again and seeing Dr. Silber, my childhood dentist, grimacing with pleasure, about to come and attempting to hold off for as long as possible. I closed my eyes, but the image of my dentist, a nice, pleasant man who gave everyone sugarless chewing gum that had no flavor, persisted. When I'd been his patient, Dr. Silber had never acted inappropriately, never given me any reason to suspect he'd show up unbidden like this 15 years later. Seeing him again, without an appointment, was a bad surprise, like slamming into a wall at 50 miles an hour. After a few seconds, I gave up and let him finish without me. I averted my gaze in the shower, hoping by the time I toweled off, Michael would have pushed Dr. Silber aside. But 20 minutes later, my dentist was still there, waving goodbye to me from Michael's BMW. I stood on the porch and watched him drive away. "See you later, babe," he called, unaware that our days together were seriously numbered. Dr. Silber wasn't the first kindly man from my childhood to show up and spoil my relationships with the opposite sex. Murray Goldman, the stoop-shouldered rabbi at my Hebrew school, killed any slight attraction I might have had toward a fellow law student who used to rock back and forth while we studied together. And my 5th grade school teacher, Mr. Tierney, a short man with a beard and a pronounced goiter, slowly poisoned my relationship with a grad student in my last year of college. To be fair, my boyfriend, who'd stopped shaving and had a wild look in his eyes, had already begun to remind me of Charles Manson before Mr. Tierney took over. The truth was, there was nothing wrong with any of the men I dated. They just weren't women. My mind was simply doing what it could to alert my body that it was barking up the wrong tree. A few months before I ended it with Michael, I caught a glimpse of 2 women kissing passionately on the corner of Pearl and Broadway and felt electrified. Later, when I replayed the kiss in my mind, over and over, I realized I'd never felt riveted to someone the way they seemed to be, that I'd never been in love. I'd always assumed I was too dignified to fling myself at another grown-up and possibly lose myself in the act of flinging. Until I came out of the closet Romantic love had always struck me as either frivolous or dangerous, overblown like Marilyn Monroe, and ending disastrously the way she did. Turns out I was just a lesbian. By the time I met Vicky at 27, I was a seasoned veteran of sapphic love with the requisite number of medals pinned to my chest and plenty of shrapnel in my arms and legs to prove it. The first time I saw Vicky sitting in a restaurant, I couldn't take my eyes off her. She was dark, handsome, vivacious, possessing that je ne sais quoi. After 5 or 6 dates, I decided she was the love of my life, and I was finally ready to commit, to fling myself at the same body, which looked remarkably similar to mine, every day, forever and ever. Are gays and lesbians more narcissistic than straight people, or just more honest about it? But I digress.